Grandmasters, I need power, miracles, fame. I want the world to know my name. The words hung in the air like smoke inside the room, thick with incense and darkness. The man who spoke them was 30, broke and broken. His name was Reverend Elijah Brooks, a former youth pastor from South Carolina who had just buried his last surviving church member. Across from him stood 4 men in red suits. Their eyes were glassy, soulless. Each of them wore a crimson tie with a small black symbol stitched at the bottom, a burning dove inside a triangle. But none of them spoke. The only voice came from the center of the ritual circle, a pale man with slicked-back silver hair and a grin that looked stitched to his face. "You're desperate," said the Grandmaster. "Desperation is good. It makes men useful." Elijah nodded without blinking. His fingers were trembling, but his lips were steady. "I tried everything. Fasting, healing schools, outreach. Nothing worked. I preach every Sunday to 6 people, and 4 of them are my family." He choked back tears. "Mega-churches are rising everywhere, and I'm still on Facebook Live preaching to my couch." The Grandmaster chuckled. "Then we'll make you viral. Your name will echo through continents. But every miracle has a price." Elijah's eyes widened. "What do I have to give?" The Grandmaster walked toward him, knelt beside his ear, and whispered, "Bring us your light, the one thing that makes you human." But who is this man that wants fame and power so desperately and willing to sell his soul? Let's rewind back to where it all started. The city was a jungle of LED billboards and honking cars. But on Peachtree Avenue, a mile away from the CNN Center, stood the crown jewel of American Christianity, Dominion Fire Cathedral. Its pastor? Bishop Elijah Brooks. The name was on every podcast, news outlet, and satellite station. His services drew crowds like concerts. He prayed and tumors disappeared. He waved his hand and wheelchairs rolled away, empty. His best-selling books filled airport shelves. Anointed to overflow. Fire on the altar. Miracles are my lifestyle. The world called him America's apostle. But inside his mansion, away from the stage lights and gospel music, was a different atmosphere entirely. Elijah lived in a $15 million gated estate just outside Atlanta. The place was quiet, sterile, cold. His wife had died a decade ago in a freak fire. His only son, Daniel, now a married man, lived in D.C. But there was someone else in the house, someone the world had forgotten. It looked like an ordinary door in the wine cellar, hidden behind a rack of vintage bottles. To the untrained eye, it led nowhere. But with a certain turn of the handle and a whisper of an ancient name, it opened. To a staircase. Down the stairs, darkness. Down that darkness, a metal door. Behind the metal door, a room with no light, no windows, and only one occupant, Naomi Brooks, Elijah's daughter. She was 5 when he brought her down there. She was now 25. "Daddy, are you coming today?" Naomi's voice was soft but raspy. Her hands clutched a worn-out Bible, a gift from her mother before she vanished. She didn't know how long she'd been there. Days blurred, weeks folded into years. But she remembered one thing. "As long as you're down here, I remain powerful." Her father had said it, cold, robotic, almost possessed. She used to cry. Then she stopped crying. Now she just whispered prayers over and over, hoping one would punch through the concrete. "Jesus, are you listening?" 2 floors above, the only bringing life into the house was Sasha Brooks, Daniel's wife. She was staying for 2 weeks while Daniel attended a political conference in Virginia. Sasha was a firebrand. Raised Pentecostal in Detroit, she prayed like every word could set fire to hell. Even in her sleep, her lips moved. And Elijah hated it. One night, around 2:30 a.m., she knelt in the living room with her earbuds in, praying in tongues. Suddenly, the old man came storming down the stairs, barefoot, shirt drenched. Suddenly, the old man came storming down the stairs, barefoot, shirt drenched in sweat. "Stop saying that name in my house!" Sasha jumped. "What name?" He didn't answer. He just stood there, breathing hard, pupils dilated. "Jesus Christ, don't bring that energy in here," he muttered, then turned and went back up. Sasha stood frozen, her gut twisted. Something felt wrong. The room had gotten colder, like a presence had just left. She kept praying. 3 nights later, Sasha had a dream. In it, she saw a girl with long hair and dirty hands reaching upward, crying. Behind her were chains. Above her, a ceiling of concrete. The next morning, Sasha ignored the dream, but that night, while praying again, she heard it. Knock. Faint, like a whisper in sound. She paused. Knock, knock. It was coming from the floor, directly under the rug. She looked down. Something inside her shifted. Not fear, discernment. She grabbed a flashlight. The wine rack looked decorative, but something felt off. The bottles were dusty, unlike the rest of the house, which was obsessively clean. She pressed one of the bottles, and the shelf moved. Not much, just enough to reveal a gap. A hidden door. Sasha's hands shook as she pulled it open and flicked on her flashlight. A staircase, stone steps, cold air rising. Her heart pounded. She descended slowly, breath shallow, whispering Psalm 91 under her breath. The hallway was long. At the end, a rusty iron door. She put her ear to it. Whispers. She turned the knob. It was locked. "Hello?" she whispered. A voice answered. "Are you real? Are you Jesus?" Sasha gasped. "Who are you?" "Naomi. I'm Naomi Brooks. My daddy put me here. He said I had to stay, so he could heal people." Sasha didn't sleep that night. She paced the living room of Bishop Elijah's mansion, flashlight in one hand, her Bible in the other. She had heard Naomi's voice, real, shaken, human. But what stunned her wasn't just the horror of the girl's story. It was the darkness clinging to that basement. The feeling. It wasn't natural. She needed answers. But first, she needed to act. The next morning, Sasha sat across from Elijah at breakfast. He wore a silk robe, sipping imported Jamaican Blue Mountain coffee like nothing had happened. But his eyes, bloodshot and twitchy, told a different story. "Did you sleep well, Dad?" she asked, buttering toast. "Like a rock. Why?" Sasha leaned forward, voice calm but deliberate. "Because someone in this house didn't." His hand froze. The coffee cup hovered just short of his lips. "Excuse me?" "I found the door. The one behind the wine rack. The girl in the room called you Daddy." His face drained of color. "You went where you weren't supposed to go. And you locked your own daughter in a concrete tomb for 20 years. For what, Elijah?" He slammed his fist on the table. The fine china jumped. "Don't you judge me, little girl. You have no idea what I sacrificed to build this ministry." Sasha stood up. "No, you sacrificed her. And God sees everything." Flashback. To the year was 1998. A desperate young pastor knelt in a Georgia pine forest, crying out to the night. He'd just lost his wife. The medical bills destroyed his savings. His small church building was condemned. Nobody came to his services anymore. "Why won't you hear me, God? I've given you everything," he screamed into the trees. Then a man appeared. Tall, red suit, no shadow. "Maybe you're praying to the wrong power." That night, Elijah made the pact. One child buried in darkness. In exchange, unexplainable healing, fame, financial overflow, divine illusions. But there was a clause. "If she ever sees the sun again," the Grand Master warned, "your kingdom crumbles. Your power dies. You are nothing." Back to present day. Sasha knew time was running out. She tried calling her husband Daniel, but his phone went straight to voicemail. She texted him everything, but no response. She called the police, but halfway through reporting, the line cut off. Suddenly, all lights in the mansion shut down. Darkness swallowed the house. Then a voice boomed from upstairs. "Sasha, I told you not to say that name in my house." Sasha rushed to the kitchen and grabbed a crowbar from under the sink. She made her way back to the basement, flashlight flickering. At the iron door, she jammed the crowbar into the hinges and pried with everything in her. With a loud clang, the lock broke. The door creaked open. Inside, Naomi stood with wide, sunken eyes, skin pale, hair long and tangled. But she smiled when she saw Sasha. "You came back." Sasha stepped in, holding out her hand. "We're getting out of here." She helped Naomi up. Naomi staggered. Her legs had forgotten how to walk. But Sasha supported her, whispering, "You're stronger than you think." Upstairs, Elijah stood in front of a black mirror in his prayer room. He was chanting ancient words, blood dripping from his palm into a golden bowl. The same demonic ritual he'd done for decades, except this time it wasn't working. "Come to me, Grand Masters, strengthen me." But nothing happened. Suddenly, the mirror cracked, then shattered. A voice echoed, "The light has been released. Your power is gone." Elijah screamed and fell to his knees. Naomi and Sasha ran through the hallway, out the mansion, down the driveway. As they reached the gate, headlights blinded them. Police, 6 vehicles. Daniel stood beside them. Sasha's texts had finally gone through. Naomi collapsed in her brother's arms, crying. The cops stormed the house. Within minutes, they found Elijah in his ritual room, sobbing incoherently. "She was my power. She was my miracle." He was arrested on the spot. News outlets exploded. Famed Atlanta pastor accused of locking daughter in basement for 20 years. Miracle healings now under federal investigation. Is America's apostle a fraud? TikTok sermons were pulled. His books were banned. Podcasts dissected every miracle he ever performed. The Bishop Elijah Brooks empire collapsed overnight. 6 months later, Naomi now lived in Nashville, Tennessee, with her brother and Sasha. She wore sun hats, she went to therapy, she started humming songs again. And every morning she walked outside, looked at the sky, and whispered, "Thank you for the sun." In a private maximum security prison, Elijah sat in solitary confinement. He talked to himself, scribbled prayers in languages no one understood. One day, a guard passed his cell. Elijah looked up with wild eyes and hissed, "The Grand Masters aren't done."